Yep. Good evening, bird gang. Another edition of Birds of a Feather, episode 9 is on your way. Thank you for tuning in. I'm your girl, AJ, Suburban Princess, coming at you with another edition, just my thoughts from this past week's festivities. First of all, it's very exciting to be able to record twice in the same week, being that my birds won on Sunday and my birds just won 2 days ago, Thursday night in Charlotte, North Carolina, and beat those Panthers down. Now, it was one of those games that I didn't know how the ending was going to happen, but I liked what I saw, especially after the second half. The first half, my only concerns were that Carson was throwing balls over people's heads left and right. And there were a lot of series that got messed up because of the stupid penalties that seem to pervade this game. Pete Morelli and the refs have come heavily under fire and well deserving, because they basically seem to call everything on the Eagles in terms of any kind of contact, whether it be blatant or not, while the other team, the Panthers, seem to only get one general penalty. Makes no sense. It's very unbalanced. And at one point, we had to see a little bit of action on the sidelines from Dougie P once they got their second touchdown. And he decided to get a choice of whether or not he wanted to kick for the 1 or go for the 2. And he decided to go for a 2-point conversion. Unusual. And I don't think it's something that he should have done, but I guess he felt like normally they go through the protocol. And since the refs already seemed like they were doing ticky-tacky fouls all night, I guess Doug felt like, it was time for him to make his name known out there. So that was kind of cool to see on the sideline, see a little fire from the coach. All in all, I think the defense pretty much stomped, the Panthers left and right. And the offense kind of had to take a while to gel together, which has been the usual thing. But it's good to see Wisniewski be the left tackle for once full time instead of, the rotating between Wisniewski and Chance Warmack. I think he proved that he can handle it. It's just the right tackle issue with Lane Johnson being out because of his concussion, which I totally understand, and I would not want them to rush him back. It does make a difference. You wanna hope for Vaitai, but obviously, even when he did pick up one guy, another guy got past him. So, and without your usual players that take care of that, like Darren Sproles, who's usually a good running back and picks up the blitz pretty well. I think that Carson got hit one too many times this game, and at one point, I think he even put himself in a line of danger when they pretty much took 12 plays just to get that second touchdown in. But I was proud of him showing the guts, but I hope he doesn't do that a lot more, because we don't want him to get a concussion. He's the last person that needs to get a concussion on this team. But I appreciate where there was nothing that he could do at the time. He was just trying to get some yards. But pretty much Ertz took care of that. Aguilar took care of it. And Blount. This was one of the rare showings where it seemed like Kenyon Barner did not know what he was doing. I understand that they were going to start a different running back at this point, but you weren't even sure the running game was going to even be necessary for this game, because I think the Panthers D-line are pretty good. But it showed that Kenyon has a little more rust, to work off, because it just seemed like he was actually a liability for the first half. Eventually, he got his wits about him on the second half, because they didn't use him as much. They used more of Blunt, which they should have did, because he pretty much, once he gets started, he won't stop. But like I said, this game was a great win, because the ticky-tack fouls could have totally ruined everything. You shouldn't blame a game on the refs taking a win or a loss, because if you're a good enough team, you'll override that, which they did. But I didn't know what to think. I just wanted to see them compete, and I felt like Carson was working his hardest to not get throw an interception. But at the same time, I think he lost his touch again a little bit in the beginning, but I think he redeemed himself towards the end. The most redeeming quality about Carson was that they showed him on the sidelines immediately going to the tablet to look at the last play and as to why he missed Jeffrey twice. And I loved seeing him roll his eyes in the back of his head and not realize that at one point Aguilar was all alone and he missed him too. So I think they made a purpose to show that on the sidelines, because if you go way back to Donovan days, you never saw Donovan looking over the playbook. He was so busy either looking depressed or he was making jokes on the sidelines. So it's good to know that a young rookie, and not even rookie anymore, a second year player is still interested in exactly what he does play by play. So, I mean, granted, some players probably feel more comfortable doing that in the film room or, the day after a game. But I like seeing it on the sidelines because it just shows to me that you're invested in trying to improve as you go. Now, Cam, on the other hand, he was being Cam for the most part. I mean, he always throws those laser balls. But obviously, Fletcher Cox showed up at the right time, and I'm glad that he played this game because he definitely helped Timmy Jernigan when he got hurt a little bit, push up the middle and get to Cam more than once. So that was great to see. I'm glad to see that Jalen Mills overcame his fouls and was able to get an interception, as well as Patrick Robinson. I mean, there was love all over the place, and good catches and good pass interference, even though they were crappy calls. But I think it was just defense. It was good to see Alshon get a few deep balls. Once again, I say Nelly Aguilar, he has definitely overcame his demons and he's showing more cockiness, but at the same time, giving props to the team. During his touchdown, he gave center Jason Kelsey, the ball to Spike and pull a Gronk, and I thought that was pretty cool. He could have just took that for himself. But, at this point, it's looking more like a team, and I think that's what makes it more exciting to watch this team go 5-1. I still think they're not out of the woods. I'm not even ready to even talk about playoffs because, of course, people even said the Super Bowl term, and I just thought, nope. Not until December, not until they get to the game where they play the Raiders will I decide to even talk about a playoff run. Right now, I'm just proud of them. I'm glad they're on top of the NFC East. I would love to get a t-shirt again that says NFC East winners or champions because Lord knows we haven't done that since the same year the Eagles went to the Super Bowl. So even if they just win the East Division, not the total NFC, I'll just be happy for Carson to have something under his belt to start his third season off next year with the promise of more championships to come. And on another note, I think that it's refreshing to see a team that looks like they are actually putting an effort within the same game. Like it's not something that you're waiting for them to show next week because they didn't show it at all during the game. There was constant adjustment. And even if sometimes it seemed like even Jim Schwartz didn't know what the hell to do when they needed to blitz, he did eventually blitz. And even though he didn't overdo it, he did it at the right times, which was good. They really didn't need to blitz as much this game, honestly, because eventually Fletcher Cox just pushed it up all by himself. I mean, between him and Jernigan and Curry got some, and then at one point Hicks got in there and got a good sack. So all the guys pretty much have contributed to this win, and this time it actually felt somewhat balanced. I still think we need, obviously, to work on getting our wide receivers in the right position at the right time, and we also got to pray that Carson keeps consistently throwing in the direction of the wide receivers and not in such a way that seems like he's trying too hard or pressing. We don't want him running too much. He did show a lot of pocket control, which was good, but I never want him to feel like he has to run if he doesn't have to. But sometimes it's just not there. Sometimes players can't get separation. I think that's always been the case, and I think that's always going to be the case. They could probably stand for another wide receiver, personally. I mean, I like that they eventually must have heard me in my head saying, put Mac Hollins in, because I do think he's tall enough that Carson can see when, for whatever reason, he can't get to anybody else in a split decision. And I think Mac's always there and very reliable besides Zach. I mean, there were a couple even balls that Ertz could have got, but I do feel like sometimes it's the momentum. Sometimes the timing gets off. It's fine. But it was only in doubt when the defense let up just before the 2-minute warning of the game. And that's the only time I think I felt my heart palpitating more than once, because I felt like that was the one moment that you dreaded, because it's like you never want to see them wear down. But thank God the Panthers really weren't working with much. Even McCaffrey couldn't really break too many tackles. And when he did, it was just that one touchdown. And then other than that, when they did get the ball back due to turnovers, which were a couple, and one, of course, was because of Carson. He knows he has to get his ball control together, but again, stuff happens, and, yes, it is going to be a liability if he does it in the wrong game or the wrong, dare I say, postseason game, but hopefully, again, that's something that he'll continue to work on. But from that shot that they showed on the sidelines, I think that Carson's his own worst critic, and I don't think we need to beat him up about it. But I mean, I'm honest as a fan. I do see that he does sometimes lose his touch and he lets balls sail, and I don't know why he does it, but it happens. So I think sometimes too, you can get into such an autopilot when you're practicing that you just assume that same play is going to be there. And sometimes it's not. Sometimes you're a hair off, and more than once. But I'm very proud of the team, and I think that now that they have this nice week break before the Monday nighter, I think it'll show even more motivation when they play the Redskins again. Because not only because it's Monday night, but I don't think the Redskins are anything to be intimidated about. But you never know; it could be a trap game. A lot of people thought that this Panther game was going to be a trap game. I didn't know how to feel about it. I didn't get a vibe. I felt like any game at this point, they're going to win by like a hair, if not 2 points, 3 points, because our kicker, Jake Elliott, seems to be the winner chicken dinner, and he's not missing for nothing. So I'll be very, very happy if every game comes down to a kick, and if it's on his foot, I'm not worried about it. Like I said, they still have a couple more games before the bye, and I still kind of stick to my record of 6-3. I think they can do it, but I don't see a win against Denver, and I don't see a win against San Francisco, only because San Francisco has some pretty decent defense, but maybe not the best. But I don't know. There are some hidden gems in San Francisco that may not be out there, but I wouldn't be shocked if that's the game where they take an L as well. And that'll be home, mind you. But you never know what San Francisco is going to put out there, because now their new coach is former offensive coordinator from Atlanta Falcons. So we'll see what happens there. But like I said, the rest of the month, these next 2 home games are going to be interesting to watch. And when they come off the bye, I'm hoping that we will have even more cornerbacks like Darby back, as well as possibly a Sidney Johnson sighting. I'm praying they even wait till like after the Thanksgiving holiday to bring him in. That way he's totally 100%. His injury was pretty deep, so I don't know if you can really tempt fate like that in the same season, but he seems like he wants to be out there. He's pretty much with them during every game, and he's with them in workouts, and they make it a point to say that they may not think he might be held out the rest of the season. I think it would just be interesting to see what he's capable of. But it might be a little crowded because slowly but surely the CBs are starting to gel together. And I'm sure Malcolm Jenkins is very happy to know that, granted, they're not huge and intimidating cornerbacks, but they're useful when they want to be. And I think there's only been maybe 1 or 2 couple of gaps this season so far where you kind of realize that they're a liability. But let's just pray and hope that Darby comes back so he can continue to blaze that veteran trail that was happening way before he got injured. He definitely has the speed, and he definitely has the ups. So his presence and dynamic technique is going to be definitely needed in these harder games later in the season. So can't wait till he comes back and lights it up. And as far as the other teams in the NFC, I think it looks like that Dallas may be slowly imploding, because the Giants already have. I'm only worried about the Redskins kind of getting another life. I mean, I said before last podcast that I kind of wouldn't sleep on the Giants either, but at this point I kind of feel like they're dead in the water. But they have come back from 0-5 before, so I would not be shocked if they at least slip into the playoffs by accident or a wild card. But I'm kind of keeping a crooked eye on Dallas, because even though people think that they'll bounce back and this whole Zeke is suspended, Zeke is not suspended thing is going on, I still think Dak has a lot of consistency issues lately that will probably highlight itself when the Eagles play them. I can't wait till that game, because the first game is away, and so that's going to be really exciting to see how they hold up in Dallas. And at this point now, since even Sam Bradford was on the team, they haven't gotten too many wins in Dallas lately since Mark Sanchez played that Thanksgiving game. So it'll be nice to see a refreshing, clean W in Dallas to make everybody shook on that side of the tracks, especially with all the controversy surrounding Jerry Jones and his dictatorship ways of. I don't even want to go there anymore at this point. I feel like I've talked out about the whole standing, sitting, kneeling, whatever you want to do during the anthem crap. I think at this point now it's lost its point. But, sports and politics pretty much at this point are going to intersect no matter how you stack it, because it's part of people's lives to talk about sports, but it's also part of people's lives now with politics, and a lot of things that we're used to as comforts starting to move away from us possibly in next year. 2018 might be a big, might be one of those times where we're all actually left to kind of regroup. And hopefully by then, the sports issue regarding, protecting your rights, demonstrating your rights, won't be mutually exclusive. So in that, I say bravo to all those out there who have continued to kneel. I mean, this is going international. This is not even just about, the NFL. This is with, high school sports teams. They just showed a soccer team kneeling recently. They showed black cheerleaders kneeling at one of the black universities. And I'm at this point now where I'm saying everyone's getting that the message has been misconstrued, and that now it's just about the fact that we do not consider each other's equal anymore, or probably never did. And so now I think it's starting to translate where it's not getting, where it's getting confused here in America. Overseas now, I think people understand what the bottom line is. Me personally, I've decided to take on a humanitarian effort in donating to certain causes that I feel will be beneficial, considering all the things that have developed. And I just tonight donated to Somos Una Voz, which is basically We Are One Voice, and for the Puerto Rican relief effort. And then before that, I donated to the Eco Kit Puerto Rico group that decides they want to make and buy equipment that helps filter clean water, as well as survival kit things to help people survive while they're waiting for whether the water to rescind or their energy to come back. The power to come back. They're giving people constructive ways to do it. And so I decided that was a smart effort to give $25 to. And then for Somos tonight, I gave two $25 donations. So they got 50 out of me. And then, I don't know. I just think it helps. And, I'm praying still for Houston and still for all the other small islands in the Caribbean, because Somos One Voice, they're actually giving to not just Puerto Rico, but all the Caribbean islands that have been wiped out. So it's going to go to everywhere there in Mexico as well, who has been hit hard. So I'm praying that hopefully in the next year or two that these communities will not only just stand for just one territory, it'll be for everything and everyone. Whereas we don't feel like the government wants to even contribute to people of color. We're going to have to reach out in our own pockets and make a serious contribution, because we're human beings and we could all be in that situation just as easily as these people are. But I digress. I also wanted to discuss my Sixers, because the Sixers have come just off their last preseason win. And I think it's very obvious that they're about to hit a good stride as well, especially with Joel Embiid playing, along with Ben Simmons, along with Markelle Fultz, who's still young and still getting the green out of him, but he'll probably be a little bit of a project. But he was a first round pick for a reason, so I don't think we drafted poorly. I think that he's literally just learning from all the tall forces around him. Jahlil Okafor is coming off the bench. Dario Saric is coming off the bench. It's a really exciting time. When the Sixers open up soon next week for their first home game, it's going to feel like an earthquake hit the city, because everyone's been waiting for this promise of new life, new talent, and something to actually entertain us for a while. At this point, the Flyers just won their first home game tonight, 8-2 apparently. I don't follow hockey, but I'm very happy to hear that pretty much all three teams that are playing in season are doing very well so far. So hopefully we'll keep that going until the end of the year, if not until 2018, or continue into 2018. But it's just good to see. I personally was worried because of the one or two preseason games that I saw with the Sixers. I wasn't very impressed without Joel Embiid in there as to what I was seeing from Ben, other than he's a good passer and he can do a good layup and he's just very sharp. I didn't feel like he was impressive doing any kind of free throws. Neither was Markelle. So I don't know how you spend all that time practicing and not perfect that. Apparently, from what I've heard from sports radio this past week, that he's been working with somebody outside of the Sixers and it's altered his form. So maybe that's the reason why he doesn't look confident right now. I personally hope that doesn't continue, because I don't think he looked good at all. As far as Ben, I don't know if it took Joel Embiid to play the last two nights for him to feel more comfortable shooting from a distance, but he has now and he looks good. So I'm hoping he keeps that up. And the usual suspects, TJ McConnell is always a help. I love Timmy Cabu, Tony Kavitz, TLC as they call him, Timotei. I love him. He's definitely gotten better too. He used to be kind of a liability, and I think he gets better. As well as the other players, Gerard Bayless and all the other guys that fill in when the big guys are resting. I don't think it'll be a horrible season for them. I think the games that they play against, like the Heat or the Cavs and stuff like, and Celtics, of course. The Celtics got Jason Tatum, and I have to admit, I don't even know much about him, but the little I've seen, dude is talented. I saw him in preseason too as well, and I thought, okay, this kid's going to be a threat. And now that Kyrie Irving has left the Cavaliers for Isaiah Thomas, who's now on the Cavaliers, him with Jason Tatum, Kyrie Irving he's going to be ridiculous force. So the Celtics will once again go back to their rivalry with the Sixers. So I'm praying that all this young talent and young rivalry will continue. And I will I will root for the Golden State Warriors again to go back to the playoffs, because I do believe Curry is not a fraud, and I do believe he has still the supporting team that he needs. I'm glad that most of the guys stayed intact. I would like to see a rematch between them and the Cavaliers again. I think that's exciting. But hopefully now with all the new young recruits, the NBA won't be so lopsided. Hopefully it won't just be, now that Westbrook got, his guys, and he's got, who is it? Not Paul Wall. He just got the guy from the Pacers. I'm totally blanking on his name, but he just got him, Paul George, and he also got, who just went over to the Pacers recently? I was shocked. Russell Westbrook, Paul George. Oh, and was it Melo? Did Carmelo go over there? No, Carmelo went to. No, he did. He went with Westbrook. That's right. Yes, I was correct. Okay, I had to think about myself. Yes. But there's a lot of people moving in the NBA, and I think there's going to be maybe just a handful of super teams, as opposed to what everyone's making it sound like. It'll be a bunch of super teams and it'll be boring. Come Christmas, it's always fun to watch the NBA, because usually they have games on Christmas. Of course, this year, your girl will be working Christmas night, because that's when the Eagles play the Raiders. But it will be a Christmas I won't forget, that's for sure. At least one or the three major holidays we're probably going to work, because that's just how the sports schedules go. I worked New Year's Eve last year. New Year's Day last year. And then this year we're working New Year's Eve as well as Christmas. So it doesn't stop. But hopefully maybe they'll do something new and pay us time and a half, because that would be more refreshing to have to take off on a Christmas holiday for a game that shouldn't really be scheduled on a Christmas holiday when people have, going away plans and everything. But here nor there. That's why we constantly recruit at the link, because they know that everyone has things that are pre-planned and can't get out of them. Me, I can't wait till I go to my first away game again to see the Eagles play the Rams on the 10th. So that'll be a fun weekend. And I'm hoping I go away bragging about it and not dreading it. But it'll also be good to see my girlfriend, Emma. I haven't seen her in a while. And sports in general always unites everybody, like I always say. And this is why I preach the show being called Birds of a Feather, and I wouldn't limit it to just Eagles talk, but I want it to be a source of frustration, celebration, elevation, and not just talking sports, but just in general, politics, very little, but more just how you can get through the day through sports and find the positivity in the world still and enjoy pastimes. And that's basically why I have the desire to continue recording for the show, whether or not people are listening or not. But I appreciate those who do. And once I want to tie this together with just the general message that while I continue to support the idea of Jemele Hill and all those who decided to continually speak on her behalf until she gets back on the air on ESPN, I think it's very refreshing to know that there are a lot of female voices out there that are being looked at even more so now while she's going through this down period and this temporary oppression of a network. I think it'll also make people turn around and realize, what is really the big issue? Is it really because she's a woman, or is it because of she's telling truthful things and nobody wants to hear that on a sports channel? Meanwhile, we'll talk about everything else, but that's here nor there. I just feel like at the end of this podcast, I want to stress that we should all really examine ourselves before we decide to chastise people that we don't know. Yes, I know it's hypocritical in a way because of how we all chastise our current president, but I think it's pretty much unanimous that he is a joke to be in office. So I think there's kind of a slight pass when it comes to him because he's not exactly doing our country any favors at this point. If anything, he's putting us further in the line of danger, and he is definitely proving to us that ignorance is not bliss. But I think on the behalf of Jamel and other females in sports, it's just revealing how hard it truly is to be a woman sometimes with your own point of view. And now we're starting to see that evolve out of the Hollywood world now with this whole Harvey Weinstein scandal unfurling more and more, and like 30 to probably 100 more women will come out and say that they've once been sexually assaulted or, I guess mind brainwashed, I should say, in certain ways. Any kind of way of putting any kind of dissension between women or trying to belittle them for the sake of trying to uplift them in their careers is a joke. I don't think that women should be made examples of in a humiliating sense just for the sake of a power trip. And I think what we're seeing now is that exact motivation coming out and being revealed and exposed in both the sports as well as Hollywood world. There's a lot of men now making public apologies. There's a lot of men probably starting to pull back from the things that they used to casually do, not realizing it was an issue or not caring, and now second guessing everything that they do and backtrack. So hopefully this will be a disease that will stop spreading. And the more that you call it out, the more that you shame the devil, the more that things can be dealt with quicker and people can avoid messy court dramas and just admit, pay up, settle out of court, or just refrain from doing it. I like to bring people together. I like to laugh. I like to have fun with people of all types of different backgrounds. And as I get older, I've learned that there's a lot of things that I have, in my mind, have generalized and stereotyped as well. And I'm learning to unlearn all those things that I have absorbed into my psyche that, in a way, I guess made me feel better because I was insecure on how to deal with it. And now I realize that's not a good way to think. That's not a healthy way to live. And you have to learn to take the good with the bad in life, which means that you're going to be uncomfortable from time to time with seeing things that you don't like to look at, observe, partake in. And I think that being a female this year alone has proved to me how it can sometimes be, I guess, a liability to some men, and as well as a magnifying glass to those who don't realize their own flaws. Being a strong woman and I don't know, just not having an ounce of fear in us due to all the experiences that we had, whether we're giving birth, whether we're just trying to get a raise, whether we're just trying to just all in all gain respect, is a burden in itself. So I guess I want to end this podcast by saying, just let us all learn to respect each other and just accept the fact that we're different and not make a big deal about it. We're all birds of the same feather. And as I end this podcast, I say I can't wait till the Monday night game with the Eagles versus the Skins. In the meantime, I'm still going to watch some sports tomorrow because my FanDuel has some good picks. I'm going for Deshaun Watson and the Texans to pull in a win this weekend, as well as Green Bay. So it should be still a fun Sunday, even though the Eagles are pretty much done. I watched the rerun on NFL Network today of the game, and it got me hype all over again. So I'm looking forward to another week of fun information and fun social mediaing. But it was very important to me to get the episode 9 out because I knew I was going to have to record twice. So I'm very, very glad that I got it out. And if you want to hit me up at ajradiocaller@aol.com, feel free. I also got a Facebook page, AJ the Sports Radio Caller. And my Twitter is girlyvirgo78. Holla at your girl. Birds of a feather, bird gang, one love. I'm out.